soul. Thank you, Master.
Where did that song, Thank You, Master, come from? Because it had all the elements of gospel, but it also had, in the solo part, that piano solo turned into a swinging jazz piano solo. Donny was all over the place, man.
In my opinion, that's the best song on this album. Okay, thank you, Master, for my soul. Okay,
I have to agree with you. It certainly. I heard it. I only had to hear it one time. I mean, I was hooked after I heard it that one time. And it's usually, I was in Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta, and I was listening to a late night, early morning, overnight jazz show. And the first thing, and just as he was leaving out at 5 o'clock in the morning, he started playing that song as his leaving exit song from his jazz show. I thought that was, and it worked. And because, it's a straight ahead jazz place, but they played that song.
And everybody picked up on it, and including, including Valerie Simpson, Donny preaching on that. Okay. He was talking about the cooling board and
exactly. I didn't know what none of he was talking about. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. Right. I sure didn't know what he was talking about. But hey, I want to switch the reels right now. We want to talk a little bit about your experience or any connection with Sam Cooke while you were living in Chicago, or with LC, or anybody connected with that during that time, during that era of Sam Cooke in the 60s until his passing.
With Sam and Lou Rawls and Richard Evans, they all were from Chicago, and they went to a high school. I think it was Dunbar or something.
Dunbar,
in Chicago.
Wendell Phillips.
Oh, they didn't go to Dunbar.
Well, Sam went to Wendell Phillips.
Okay,
oh, really?
But Lou went to Dunbar.
That was the high school. Now, if you're talking about an elementary school or something like that.
No, high schools.
High school. That was Wendell Phillips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Captain Diet, who was the band director, what school was he at?
I'm not familiar with where he went.
Well, Captain Diet, supposedly Nat King Cole and all those people that came through Chicago in high school, they came through Captain Diet, D-Y-E-T-T, And he was the music director.
They went to Wendell Phillips.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was Dinah Washington, Nat King Cole, Sam Cooke. They went to Wendell Phillips. I'm not sure where the captain went.
Okay. Well, why I was in Chicago, and I had mentioned before that I was in the house band at the High Chaparral on Stony Island. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I got an opportunity to play with Otis Clay and Holly Maxwell and all those different folks who were local that would come through and play. Also, the Jackson 5 had come through here at the time, and so I got a chance to even back them up before. They had a little band, but they needed a drummer. So the High Chaparral was one of the clubs. Then it was another club on 75th called Lurleen Hunters, Lurleen's, and that was a little jazz club, and oh my, what's the comedian's name?
Slappy White, Hi-Fi White.
No, I knew him too. But no, the brother that had the Bahamian diet.
That's Gregory. Dick Gregory.
Dick Gregory. Okay, so Dick Gregory used to be at this club of 75th Street, and he introduced us to Lurleen, and so we became the house band. Donny and us, we became the house band for there, and then Donny and I, we used to do some of the gigs with Phil Caron with the Afro Arts Theater too, down at 38th Street in Cottage Grove, and near Ida B. Wells projects. And so we did some of the stuff with the Pharaohs, and that's where Don Myrick and Maurice White and Louis Satterfield, in fact, Louis Satterfield, he played trombone, and
bass too.
He was doing sessions on bass, but he played trombone with the Afro Arts group,
Yeah.
So Chicago. So I always say Chicago. I mean, blackness and Afrocentric was not a fad. I mean, people, if you saw a sister dressed in Afrocentric clothes, I mean, that reflected on her mind as well. I mean, it wasn't a matter of just what she was wearing.
Okay.
Right,
Let me ask you this, man. I'm going to get back to a question with Val, if I could, and yourself. Being in Chicago, Val, tell me some of the things that might have been going on there. You met C. What was it like, I guess, going on in Chicago when people found out that Sam was all of a sudden dead and that sort of thing? What was that like to have that kind of impact on the music industry? To you, Rick, Sam, first, and then to Val.
Sam had pretty much left Chicago. I think he was living in New York, because he was recording for RCA. And I got an opportunity to do one of his recordings too. It wasn't a change is going to come, but it was something along that time just before he passed away. And but yeah, he was, between spending time in Europe and New York, but I never seen Sam in New York. I mean, in Chicago, and the same thing. The same thing with Lou Rawls. Lou Rawls had moved out to California and was living in Hancock Park outside of LA, where Ali lived, and that's where he was staying.
Right. Same area as Nat Cole.
I've met Nat Cole. In fact, I'm on Natalie's first recordings that was done at Paul Serrano's studios. Richard Evans produced her early sessions, and she was married to what's the brother's name?
Yancey.
You're right, Marvin Yancey. Right. And I think his father or something was a preacher in Chicago. He was. So I played on Jesse Jackson's brother, Chuck, and Marvin Yancey wrote a lot of the songs that were.
Wait a minute. Did you just say Chuck Jackson is
we ain't talking about we're not talking about the Chuck Jackson anytime, any day. We're talking about Chuck Jackson, who was Jesse Jackson's little brother.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm thinking. Like, hey, wait a minute. Is he his brother? I didn't know that.
Yeah. But he was in Chicago, and Chuck Jackson and Marvin Yancey, when Jesse had that breadbasket thing going, and the Rainbow Coalition, they participated a lot with that, and Natalie came and performed along with Quincy Jones during that time. But her first album was done in Chicago at P&S Studios, which is down off of Cermak Road, not too far from where Chess was.
Let me ask you. Let me get back to Val. Val, what about you as far as that impact? What was happening in the city at that time? Because I always tie these two kind of close together because of the way they was brought up as young, performing children in the church, playing gospel music, and then we hear you actually say hear Rick say that they always thought that you were going to have problems early on. They've been telling him all that time that this is going to either have some problems because people that went from that to this was usually always had problems because they playing the devil's music or whatever.
Right. Well, you know,
what were you hearing, man?
Well, first of all, to answer your question about the devil's music and all of that, like Candace Staten said, you know, they were allowed to do anything. You know, like Candace Staten, I remember her saying they could chase women, they could go out and do all kind of other things that were considered wrong, but don't sing that secular music because you're tampering with devil's music. But you know, and then the other question, what was it like when Sam was killed? What was the mood? It was disbelief to the point. I remember hearing as a teenager that it was just a rumor. People didn't want to believe that. I was riding in the car with my uncle, and it was on the radio, and it came on the way we found out that it was real, because before that, everybody was saying it was a rumor, because, you know, before that, Sam had all kind of reports that he had died or had leukemia or something, and he even put that in one of his concerts. And, you know, he was singing, he said, what's wrong with me? Somebody have mercy. He said, it ain't that leukemia. No, that ain't it. So they had it out that Sam was dying from leukemia. And then, so when it came out that Sam had gotten shot, we thought it was just another rumor. Until they said on the radio that the rumor that Sam Cooke had been shot and killed in Los Angeles was not a rumor. It's real. Sam is dead.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow.
Well, you know, when that happened, you talking about rumors and stuff. Bobby Womack used to play guitar with Sam, and Bobby Womack was dating Sam's ex-wife or something. Okay, so supposedly they said that Bobby Womack wore one of Sam's suits to his funeral. I know one of Sam's daughters sang on one of sang backup on one of Bobby Womack's recordings, but anyway, yeah, there was some scandal dealing with Bobby Womack and Sam Cooke. I think her name was Barbara or something. The wife's name. I'm not sure. Yeah, you know, but Barbara, anyway,
right.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, that was his wife. That was his ex-wife.
That's a big rumor, Robert. Yeah, but that we'll get into. That's another show.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.